Most people think Excel's group by function is just for simple data grouping. But what if I told you you can do way more? You can count unique items. You could get a distinct list of values. You could apply multiple calculations to the same column or to multiple columns. So my aim is that by the end of this video, you'll be using group by in ways that you never thought possible. I'm going to be showing you 7 group by tricks that are going to turn you into an Excel pro. So let's get to it. Over here in Excel, I have this table called T-Sales. We have date, division, product, sales manager, and sales. I have 320 rows of data. Now let's say we were told to get the total sales for each division and product. Okay, so for the combination of product and division, we want to get the total sales. Now this is something that a pivot table can do, but a group by function can also do it really fast, plus it's dynamic. So just to give you a quick refresher before we get into the tips on how the group by function works, let's do that example here. We're going to start with group by. The row fields are going to be my division and product. Then the values field is going to be my sales. And the function, I can pick from any of these functions and look at the choices that we have. We actually get more choices than in a pivot table, right? We have median and mode, plus we can also create our own custom function using a lambda, which we're going to take a look at in a bit. But in this example, I just want the sum. I'm going to close the bracket and press enter. And I have total sales for each product by division. And I also get the total amount down here. Now, you do have a lot of optional arguments here. So if we had selected the headers, we can show the headers. You can hide or show the totals. You can decide how you want to sort, filter out stuff you don't need, and so on. And I do have a separate video that takes you through all of this. It's called Group By and Pivot By, All You Need to Know. And I'll add the link to the description of this video. So this is the basics of group by function. Now let's start with our first tip. How do we group by multiple columns if they're not side by side? So in the example we just did, division and product are side by side. But what if our boss takes a look at this and says, I actually want total sales by division and sales manager instead? Well, we could be like, let's just change this. I'll select division. Now I'll add the Excel separator here and select sales manager. That should work. It doesn't work because the moment we add the Excel separator, we're actually moving on to the next argument. Even if we put this inside brackets, that's not going to work. What we need to do is combine this with another function, which is called the HStack function. HStack is for horizontal stacking. If I open up the bracket here and select my first column, now add my Excel separator and select the second column, close the bracket, press enter. This is what HStack does. It brings those columns together. That's exactly what we need to do inside the group by function. So this bit here is the bit that we need to put inside the HStack function. Now when I press enter, everything works beautifully. Next, how do we show multiple aggregations for the same column? So far, we have total sales by sales manager and division. Our boss takes a look at this and says, not quite. I also want the average, median, and percent of total sales added to this report. Well, no problem. We can use the same HStack technique, except we're going to add it to the function argument right here. We're going to start off this argument with HStack. The first way we want to aggregate is the sum because we want to get the totals. Then we want the average. Now, if you start typing in the function, you're going to see it pop up here. But if you press tab, you're going to get these additional brackets added to it here. You don't need that. Get rid of it. The next way we want to aggregate is median. So I'm just going to type it in. And then we want percent of. Close the bracket for HStack, close it for group by, and enter. And now we have total sales, average sales, median, and percent of. Now notice the numbers aren't formatted correctly because formatting depends on the underlying cells and how they are formatted. So you do have to format these the way you see fit. Next up is distinct count, or counting unique items per group. So let's say now we need to prepare a different report. We need to get the unique count of products by division. If you just go about typing in the group by, we want division here. So this time I'm actually going to select the header as well because I want to show it in the end result. Now for my values, I'm going to select product and make sure the header is selected as well. For the function, well, we want to count. So I am going to go with count A, close the bracket, and press enter. First of all, I selected the header so I can see division show up here and I get a count for it. I don't want that. So I have to specify here that I have headers and I want to show it. So I'm moving on to the next argument for field headers. I'm going to select yes and show. So now I have my proper headers here. Let's just make it bold and add a border to it. Now I have the total count of products by division, but I don't want that. I want to get a unique count of products by division. Here is the thing. We don't have a specific function that's called distinct count, but we can create our own function using a lambda. If you've never used lambdas, don't worry because this lambda is super simple. All we need to do, type in lambda, open the bracket, type in a parameter. It's just a placeholder for our values. I'm going to go with A. You can go with whatever you like. Then for the calculation, well, I want to get a unique list of my values. So A is my placeholder, but I want to count these, right? So I have to put this inside the count A function. I'm dealing with text here. So let's close the brackets here as well. And this is my lambda function. So let's just close off that bracket there as well. Now we have a distinct count of products for each division. So health, for example, has 6 different products. Productivity has 3 different products. In total, we have 14 different products. Next up, properly formatting the total row. So totals are a part of your results, and you probably want to format the total row differently so it stands out. Now you have different options. One way is to move the totals from the bottom to the top. This way the position is going to be fixed and you can format the cells the way you want. The way you can do that is by taking advantage of the next optional argument for total depth. So here we can go with no totals if we want to hide it, but we can also show the totals at top by selecting this option. Now we have the totals up here. The position is going to be fixed, so I could format this the way I want. But let's say you don't want this. You want the totals on the bottom, but you want to format it in a dynamic way. So if your results expands or shrinks, the formatting goes with. Here you can take advantage of conditional formatting. So you would just select your range, account for extra cells underneath, go to conditional formatting, new row, use a formula. In the formula box here, select the first cell in the corner that you highlighted and take away the $sign from the rows because we only want the column fixed. We want the rows to be flexible. Then type in an equals. In quotations, we're going to put total. Then for formatting, for font, I want it to be bold, border, let's add a top border, okay this, and okay this. And that's it. Now, if we have a new division, let's just call it new, the formatting for the total row automatically adjusts. Oh, and if you're loving these group by tips and you truly want to master Excel, you're going to love our Excel Black Belt bundle. It takes you from beginner to pro with everything you need to know without wasting hours trying to figure it out yourself. So if you're interested, I'm going to drop a link below, check it out. But for now, let's just jump into our next tip. This one is about sorting your group by results by month name. So let's say we wanted to get total sales by year and month in separate columns. Now, when you go about doing this, you're going to run into a problem. Okay, let me show you. So we're going to start off with group by. Our row fields, well, we want year and month in separate columns. Currently, we just have one date field. So I'm going to use HStack and stack these side by side. The first part is going to be the year of my date column. So I'm going to put date inside the year function to grab the year. That's the first part of the stack. And for the second part, I want to grab the month name. Now to do that, I'm going to use the text function, then grab the date column. And the way I want this formatted in quotations is MMM. This is going to give me the first 3 characters of the month. And when I add another M, I'm going to get the full month name. Now I'm going to close the bracket for text and close for 8 stack. Now for values, we're going to go with sales and sum. So when I press enter, take a look at what happens here. Year is sorted correctly. Month is sorted alphabetically. The problem is I do have a sort order here, but that's not going to help me out because the months here are recognized as text by Excel. So I have to find another way around this. That way is by adding the month number here as well. So first we grab year, and before I grab the month name, I'm going to grab the month number using the month function. I need my date here. I'm going to close the bracket here and add the separator. Okay, so now I'm stacking the year, the month number, and the month name. Now when I press enter, take a look at what happens. Everything is sorted properly. Now, if we don't want to show these months, we can hide them by using choose calls. Our array here is this, right? So it's what we see here. Now we can decide which columns we want to show. I want to show 1, 3, and 4. I don't want to see the month number. Now when I press enter, everything is beautifully sorted. Next up, grouping by multiple value columns and getting different aggregations. So this is something we haven't seen yet. This time we want to get a report for division by average sales and count of unique products. So we want 2 different value fields and we want to aggregate each differently. Here's how we can go about it. We're going to start off with group by. What's our row field? Well, we just want division, right? So we're going to select that. This time I'm going to exclude the headers. For values, we have 2 different value fields. So we're going to use 8 stack here. The first one is sales. The second one is product. Let's close off 8 stack. Now for function, we want to aggregate these differently. So we're going to use 8 stack here as well. We have to be consistent. So how do we want to aggregate sales? I want to get average sales. I'll just type in average here. For products, I want to get a distinct count of products. Remember, we covered this before. I'm going to use a lambda here. And A is going to be my parameter. We want to get a unique count. So we're going to start with count A, then unique of A. Let's just close off all our brackets. Now we have the average sales and the distinct count of products. Now we also get this in there. If you want to hide this, we can use the drop function and we can drop the first row. That's going to get rid of that. And now you can go ahead and set up your own headers. Last is how we can use group by to return a list of items. This is really cool because it's something we can't do in a standard pivot table. So in our last example, we created this report where we got the distinct product count. Now let's say our boss wants to see what these products are. So they actually want the product list or the product names. So they can easily see which products each division has. All we have to do is make one tiny tweak to this function. Do you know what that is? We just need to change this count A to array to text. Now, before I press enter, keep your eye on productivity. We have 3 different products. So now when I press enter, we can see what these products are. Timeshield planners, clean sweep, task boards, and daily fix productivity tracker. In such a report, the totals don't make sense, so we can hide it. Let's go to our group by here and go to the total depth argument and select 0 for that. This is going to hide the totals. We can also apply wrap text here so this becomes easier to read. So there you have it, 7 hidden Excel group by tricks that I hope will take your Excel skills to the next level. If you like these tips, hit that like button. Also comment below and let me know which one was your favorite. Now you can also download the workbook that I used in this video. You'll find a link below as well. Also, if you haven't watched my first group by video, make sure you check it out. The link is somewhere here. You'll also find it below the video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.